We're back with a bonus conversation you'll only see here on CBS News New York. Before moving to another topic, I want to ask you one more question about mayoral control. One of the changes I think that you've been looking at are giving more power to what we call the community education councils in each district that have the ability to make decisions. Why is it that you'd like to have them have more power?
Because we've lost the support of the parents. The parents are frustrated. We have those are known as CEC panels. We have seats open all over the city because parents have thrown up their hands and said, it's not real voice. We go to meetings with the Department of Ed and we get yes to death and nothing. We have no authority over what's going on with the education of our children. We need to have that back. And that's the only way I can see to do it. Will there be issues? Sure. But we need the parents to feel that they have real voice in what's going on.
What kind of independence are you looking for? I mean, and let me just backtrack for a second. Do you think that this also stems from the fact that the mayor unilaterally made some decisions to, like, put migrants in school gyms, one in Coney Island, when there was a problem with the migrants at Floyd Bennett Field because there was a storm? He put them in a gym in Brooklyn. Parents didn't like that either.
No, it starts before this, and it starts before Eric Adams. It's, again, when parents, when we originally started the mayoral control thing, those seats were all filled, all throughout the city. Every district, the seats were filled. Parents were coming in, going through elections, taking those seats. Now they're all empty because they realize they have no authority. So just giving them part of, here's the budget, a capital budget that we have, and there's certain things we have to do, changing boilers, this, but what else? Here's a section of this budget. You get to choose. What do we want to do as a district? What do you want to do for an individual school? Give them that authority to start making some of those decisions.
Do they approve budgets?
They should be able to approve portions of a budget, which is something.
Capital, operating, both?
Both. A portion of each budget, they should have access to say, these are things that we feel are important to our school district or to individual schools.
So say an individual principal says, listen, I need more guidance counselors, or I need more math teachers. The parent group would have the ability to say, okay, we'll give you the money for that?
As long as we set aside a certain amount of money that they have authority for final decision making, and then the district meets together, and the district can say, we want more social workers because of mental stress so many of our children are having, and we want a district-wide program for that. That will only help us bring parents to feel that they have real authority, which makes them feel better about their schools.
Another key issue, there's a mandate for the city to reduce class size by, the classes should be no more than between 20 and 25 by the year 2028, which is 4 years from now. And it doesn't look to me, and I could be wrong, that much movement has been made in reducing class size. What's going on, and what can you do to get things going?
I'm hoping we can avoid this fight, but right now the city is in compliance. The state education department made them redo their plan. They're in compliance. They have 20% of all the classes in New York City are now meeting the class size mandate. Next year it's 40%. The issue is there's a provision in the law called the financial review portion, and it's clear from the actions of this administration that what they want to do is try to pause or temporarily suspend the class size law at that point in time.
Why?
Because they've never believed, the mayor has never believed in it.
The city tries to say that if they were fully implement the class size mandate, it would cost them up to $1.9 billion because you'd have to hire between 10 and 12,000 new teachers, and that doesn't even include the cost of building new schools because you're going to need more classrooms. Is that a legitimate argument? And if so, where does the city get the money to do that?
We'll disagree slightly on the number, but I will tell you this, that we couldn't get this law passed until the state fulfilled its obligation to fully fund foundation aid, and that's why the elected officials in Albany said, we are giving you the money to do this, so now you have to do it.
The city already has the money?
Yes.
And they say they don't?
The thing is, we look at the numbers.
Are they spending the money someplace else?
Yes, they are. They have supplanted the money out of the education system. That's why the mayor cut the schools.
They've taken the money that they were given to reduce class size, and they're spending it in other places?
Yeah, but I just want to be clear. What they did is the state sends this large amount of money, record amount of money for the last 2 years, and we'll do it again this year. They're going to do that. It's now forever, right? So they're going to keep doing that. But what the city did was, oh, we're going to reduce our amount of money we're going to give to education. We're not going to give that anymore, and we're going to put that in our general reserves.
I get it.
So that's another way of just cutting the schools because they're supposed to be obligated, which is why we have sued them over this.
And where are we in the suit?
Well, right now we're in court, and that's always a lot of fun. And the Department of Ed is arguing that what happens if the cuts don't happen? Because they took the cut that was originally supposed to happen and reduced it. Now they're saying they might not cut the other two. I would then say the lawsuit worked. But again, they have the money to do the class size.
I think you also want to talk about the fact that you think that kids learn better in smaller classrooms.
Well, that's the whole premise, and this is so popular. This is what parents want. This is the number. Safety is always first, right? We get that. But this is it. This is the one thing that the parents want. Over 90% of them want this, and we do. And all we're saying is, when Albany passed this law, they didn't give us great class size numbers. They gave us the state average. So this is a law that says New York City students are entitled to the same class sizes as the students in the rest of the state. You know, this is crazy. We think this is crazy that we're in this fight over this.
You know, when you talk about education issues in New York, there's always questions about how kids learn and whether kids are slow in learning. And they talk about graduation rates, and they talk about the fact that sometimes kids go on to college, a lot of the community colleges, and are not really ready in terms of English and math skills. Do you think that if you had smaller class sizes, you will help to eliminate some of these problems?
Absolutely, because you get to spend more time with the students as individuals and in small groups. We also now, thankfully, we've moved away from every school figuring out their literacy program on their own. We moved into the science of reading. We're moving more towards career and technical education, which those students, and it's over 100,000, are now over a 90% graduation rate. So there's a lot of successes here, and it's like, how do you build off of what works? And the class size is pivotal to this.
But see, you also have another situation where I know that the mayor is trying to develop problems and programs for kids with learning disabilities. It's a priority not only of him because he had dyslexia, but also of the chancellor. And is that going to take away from some of the money that could be used for class size reduction?
No, because what we're doing is we're training the teachers to do the screenings. The teachers themselves are doing these screenings as we introduce as more and more we're entering into phase 2 for the science of reading. A lot of the older people know this as phonics, but it's more than that. That allows us to really be able to target what a child's actual difficulty is and create that path to say, here, school, this is what happens when these children have these difficulties. And so that's how a system starts to work together rather than everyone work by themselves. That's why we've been completely supportive of this project, because it will work. And I agree that we should have been screening students all the time. As a high school teacher, I would get 9th grade students, and every year I would work with unofficially, without filing paperwork, I would work with my school-based support team, the psychologists, the social workers, and we would screen my students because they were all at-risk students. And we would find 30% of them had severe reading difficulties that were never, ever found before. And it made a profound difference in my ability to teach them and made a profound difference in their lives.
Last issue, school food. What's going on?
Listen, you got to talk to the mayor.
I have to talk to the mayor. You have to talk to the mayor.
All I know is, look, I agree eating healthy is a great thing, but if they're not eating it, well, we got a problem.
I have to tell you, and I'm saying this with a straight face, that when the mayor did his availability, his off-topic availability this week, he, at the end, showed an article that had been printed that showed pictures of food that was being thrown out. The kids had not eating it.
Yeah.
But his take on it was, and I'm saying this with a straight face, that this wasn't food that was being thrown out, it was being composted. And that...
you said it with a straight face, so I give you credit.
So he says, and this, I mean, it's an interesting argument.
Yeah.
He says that kids can eat whatever they want when they're home, but when you have to feed kids in school, you should at least try to give them a healthy diet. and he said it should be done in schools, in ACS, and in hospitals. It doesn't seem like it's a bad goal, except
No.
that the kids aren't eating it.
Right. So this is an issue where if you would speak to a group of folks, especially teachers, they would have said, okay, why don't we start making that food available at certain points in time? We'll teach lessons about it. We'll do this. Instead of saying, Friday, this is your diet. And they don't eat it. And as Fridays is critical to us because, you know, we have such food scarcity amongst so many of our community. And this is why Fridays is usually the day that we have the food banks open up in the schools to give food to go home on the weekend. So Friday is a pivotal day. So we would have never, you know, the fact that he did it on Friday was, to me, a big mistake because that's right before the weekend and the child could be going hungry throughout the entire weekend. But have a conversation, build lessons around this, start introducing it so it's an option children will look at differently rather than saying, this is the menu on Friday and I'm not moving.
Well, do you think that the reduction in some of the choices that they've made, they have reduced the menu allegedly, and do you think that some of the reduction in choices was a budgetary thing? That some of the, like, you know, the pizzas and the French fries were more expensive, and does that have anything to do with why they decided to change?
It probably has something to do with budget or the amount of food that was being composted come Saturday morning. But, you know, I've also spoken to a lot of chefs who are designing menus for hospitals and different institutions, and they've looked at the food and they said, we could do a better job than this.
So you say they should maybe consult professional chefs and do a better job.
And they would love to do it. They love helping the schools, you know. And you know, this is a section of our food industry that's growing dramatically. People are figuring out how to make it more and tasteful for everyone. So why not? You know, because they looked at it. I had a lot of conversations with chefs on this because the schools are calling us all the time. It's like they're not eating; they're throwing all the food out. Composting.
Composting. And on that note, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you at home for joining me as well.